Hello, good morning, and welcome to our June edition of the Librarian Book Club. I'm Annie Phillips. I'm a librarian at the Downtown Library, and with me are Lady Smith. She is the proprietor of our local Snail on the Wall bookseller. You can buy online all the time, and sometimes she has really cool pop-ups. And she also delivers to not only Huntsville now, but Madison. So yay, we're very excited about that. We also have Amanda Campbell, and she is the head of the Monrovia branch. So we are coming together like we do every month to discuss what we're excited about that's coming out in the month coming up. By no means exhaustive list, because there's so much good stuff coming out, but we do talk about things that catch our eye. So I will get started with what I'm excited about for June, and then we'll each go through our lists and culminate with our Librarian Book Club pick for the month of June, which is always exciting. So I will take it away. I've got 5 books here that I'm going to talk about real quick. The first one is comes out June 1st, The Thousand Crimes of Ming Su by Tom Lin. And in the reviews, this is sort of called like a mashup as far as writings, styles of Cormac McCarthy and Ted Chiang. So that's pretty exciting. So it's kind of a not supernatural, but like a fantasy Western. And this is based on some historical stuff like the railroad building and the conscription of Chinese immigrants. Ming Su is an orphan, the son of Chinese immigrants in the U.S., and he is raised by adopted by a leader of a crime syndicate in California, and kind of becomes his enforcer. But Ming marries the daughter of a railroad magnate. Her name's Ada. They elope. As you can guess, maybe the marriage is not, her dad's not happy about it. And so he kidnaps his daughter back. And of course, Ming has to, set on a journey to rescue his wife. He teams up with a blind clairvoyant and also some other folks with some supernatural powers. So it sounds like there's a lot of fun, interesting stuff happening. He blazes his way across the West to save his love. And I'm really excited about it. I think there's a lot of stuff for lots of interest. The next one is The Shape of Darkness, also coming out June 1st by Laura Purcell. I read a book by her a few years ago called The Silent Companions. She's really good at sort of this creepy Gothic historical horror. The Shape of Darkness is set in Victorian England in the city of Bath, and Agnes is a silhouette artist. And lately, every time she has a client, each one gets murdered. And so she sets out to find out why this is happening. She teams up with a young woman named Pearl, or she's a child spirit medium. And so they kind of open that door to the spiritual realm, and, things that are not so great come out. And so they have to, fight back against that. And just knowing her writing, it's going to be another really good creepy book. The third one is Double Blind by Edward St. Aubin, also June 1st. And this is one of those, neat sort of coming of age, 3 friends. They're just kind of starting their life out. And, sounds like a little bit of maybe some, love triangles and things. And it's set between London, Cap d'Antibes, which I hope I'm saying that right, and Big Sur, and in Sussex. So there's like kind of a lot of world travel happening. And it just, just kind of sounds like one of those fun sort of relationship stories, and, with some really good travel thrown in as well. And I love the cover. The fourth one is, again, I love, family stories. I've said this before. Morningside Heights by Joshua Henkin comes out June 15th. It starts in 1976. A young woman from Ohio comes to New York, one of those coming to New York stories. And she falls in love with a Shakespeare professor, and he's a hotshot, and they marry and have kids. And then it kind of fast forwards to today, where her husband is struggling with dementia. They think And, you have to kind of call in the kids who have now, grown up, and one of them's like a tech entrepreneur. And so just kind of family drama and relationships. But I'm excited to read it. And my final one to mention is Rock the Boat by Beck Dory Stein. Comes out June 29th. And she wrote a memoir a few years ago about working in Obama's White House. So this looks like it'll be fun. This is sort of a summer read. You can tell with the turtles and, the sort of nautical theme. A young woman in Manhattan, everything goes to pot all of a sudden. She has to go home. Called Sea Point is her town, and quirky locals, quaint bungalows and beaches, so kind of a good place to lick your wounds. Meets up with, kind of old nemesis and who have also returned. And I think some romance ensues and, finding yourself again. Kind of just sounds like a good, fun beach read. So these are the books I'm excited about. And I will pass it on to Amanda so she can tell us about her amazing picks.
Thank you. I'm so glad you mentioned that Beck Dory Stein wrote the nonfiction book, because I knew her name sounded familiar. Thank you. Okay, got 5 more really great nonfiction picks for you today. So the first one is Somebody's Daughter by Ashley C. Ford. This one comes out on June 1st. This is the story of Ashley's childhood. She always put her father up on a pedestal. She thought that they understood each other, that they were very similar in nature, but the problem was that he was incarcerated. Mm-hmm. So he wasn't around in her life, and she didn't know why he was incarcerated. Growing up, she had a complicated relationship with her mother. She had a lot of anxiety, and the way that her body was developing was attracting unwanted attention from men. She ends up falling for this boy that her mom didn't approve of, and the relationship turns abusive. And right after all of this happens, she finds out why her father was incarcerated. And that's where the story really begins. I've been hearing about this book for months, and the buzz is all around. I finally got my hands on a copy, and I just turned to a random page and just got sucked in, just pulled into her story and read the whole chapter just out of nowhere. She is a beautiful storyteller. This is going to be a really powerful story about family and relationships and coming to terms with where you came from. And it's just going to be a beautiful book. I'm so excited for it. The next one is We Are What We Eat by Alice Waters. This one also comes out on June 1st. Alice Waters is the owner of Chez Panisse in California. She's also the author of The Art of Simple Food, which I love. And this is a slow food manifesto. So over the years, Alice Waters has worked with regional farmers. She and her partners learned how geography and seasonal fluctuations affect the ingredients on their menu. And she also learned about the dangers of pesticides and the plight of field workers and the social, economic, and environmental threats posed by industrial farming. So she's taking all of this information that she's learned and realized that so many of the serious problems that we have now are connected to food at their core. And this book is a toolbox for how to transform the way that we think about food. So she draws anecdotes from her own life and her career, and she guides us on how to better choose what we eat. Thinking about seasonality and locality. This book champions values like biodiversity, seasonality, stewardship, and pleasure in work. So very inspiring book. I love all food books. This one is going to be great. The next one also comes out on June 1st. This is How the Word is Passed by Clint Smith. Subtitle is A Reckoning with the History of Slavery Across America. Clint Smith is a poet. This is his first book, his first full nonfiction book. It starts off in his hometown of New Orleans, and he takes the reader on a journey through the United States, touring monuments and landmarks that offer an intergenerational story of how slavery has been central in shaping our nation's collective history and ourselves. And some of those sites are honest about their past in relationship to slavery, and some of them are not so honest, and he talks about that. This book is informed by scholarship, and it's brought to life by the stories of the people that are living here today. It's very reflective and insightful, and it gives us a new understanding of the hopeful role that memory and history can play in making sense of our country. I think this book is going to be really powerful and inspirational, and I'm excited to dive into that one. All right, let's jump to June 15th. We have Nowhere Girl, A Memory of a Fugitive Childhood by Cheryl Diamond. I got to listen to an author panel that had both Cheryl Diamond and Ashley C. Ford on it, and so I'm so excited about both of these books. Cheryl Diamond's story is that she lived a life that felt like one big adventure. One day her family was in Australia, and the next they were in South Africa. They crossed continents, changed identities, and erased their past every time. What she didn't know was that she was born into a family of outlaws that were fleeing from international law enforcement agencies. So by the time that she was in her teens, she's starting to realize that her whole life might be a big con. And the people that she loved most and trusted most were really dangerous people. So she realizes that she has to escape. And there's no proof that she even existed at all. Her birth certificate has a fake name on it. She has no true birth certificate. So this is all about her escape and coming to terms with just her finding out her life was not what she thought. This book is compulsively readable, feels like a big caper. It's a roller coaster of emotions. You're going to root for Cheryl and you're going to fear for her safety. And it's an honest portrayal of dysfunctional family dynamics. So if you liked books like The Glass Castle and Running with Scissors, that kind of has the same feel. And this is cinematic storytelling. You can tell from the description. This is going to be an exciting, readable, engaging book. All right. Last one, June 22nd, we have The Woman They Could Not Silence by Kate Moore. Kate Moore is also the author of The Radium Girls, also a very good book, very popular at book clubs. This one is about Elizabeth Packard. And the story starts out in 1860. Elizabeth Packard is a housewife and a mother of 6. And she's feisty, she's outspoken, she has her own opinions. And her husband of 21 years doesn't like that so much. So he has her committed to an insane asylum. Because apparently you could do that in 1860. Yikes. So she gets to the Illinois State Hospital in Jacksonville, Illinois, where she's overseen by Dr. Andrew McFarland. And there she tries to come to terms with how she ended up here. And this doctor is trying to figure out what is wrong with her when there's nothing wrong with her. She just has opinions. And she's realizing that there are so many other women in this institution who are in her exact same situation. They were just outspoken and then labeled crazy and put away. So this book is about Elizabeth Packard's fight for freedom and learning about all these stories from all these different women. And Kate Moore is such a powerful researcher. This book is going to be jam-packed with solid information. I'm so excited about this one as well. Whew, 5 amazing books, you guys. Really excited about June. Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda. Our summer's already full. There's more. All right, lady, we will move to yours. More good stuff.
Okay. Well, this was a hard list to put together, and I'm probably going to mention a few that I didn't choose because they're big too. But we will start with you're going to recognize some of the names on this list. So the first one is Alex Michaelides has a new novel called The Maidens. You know that author from The Silent Patient, which was huge. This is the second novel. It's not a sequel, but this is the second novel for Michaelides, and it is another psychological thriller, this time revolving around a Greek tragedy professor at Cambridge who is beloved by all the students, including this secret society of female students called the Maidens. And it turns out that some people are being murdered, and this group therapist, who's the main character, is really intent on the fact that the professor is involved. And so it turns into a story of, you know, her trying to figure out, did he do it, and how to uncover it. So it's similar to The Silent Patient, that you've got that psychologist woman at the heart of it trying to solve what's going on. So that one is going to be a great book, page turner for everyone. Okay, the next one, The Personal Librarian, which releases actually at the end of the month, June 29th. You also know these names: Marie Benedict. She's known for her historical fiction, including Mystery of Mrs. Christie, which was one of the recent novels she published. And then she's co-written this with Victoria Christopher Murray, whose book Stand Your Ground was a library, I think Library Journal, yes, best book of the year. So these are both fantastic authors. This story is focuses on a real person, Belle DaCosta Green, who was chosen as the personal librarian of J.P. Morgan in New York City. And she curated his manuscripts, his books, his artwork, and she became a fixture on the New York art scene. And it turns out that people believed she was white, but she was actually passing. So she was Black, and because of her light skin, she was able to pass. And so this becomes her story, really. And it's just an interesting story about, you know, that time. And it's a little known story. So they're really that, like Amanda was saying, you know, this is another one that is heavily researched, and you're going to find a lot of truth in this and a lot of history. So that's going to be a good one. Perfect for book clubs, I think. The next one is The Secret Keeper of Jaipur. This is by Alka Joshi, who is known from her previous novel, The Hen Artist, that so many people enjoyed. And this is a sequel, but I'm pretty sure you could read this as a standalone if you haven't read The Hen Artist. This one takes place 12 years later and focuses on one of the lesser known characters, Malik, who is an apprentice at the Jaipur Palace. And he is helping work on the building of a public cinema in town, but he becomes caught up in a gold smuggling scene. So it's a family story. It's got a romance and love story, and it's just very evocative about Indian culture and the relationships. And so I think this is going to be another hit, just like The Hen Artist. So this one's going to be one that you're going to see a lot of. The next one is a debut novel. So we love bringing to light someone that you haven't heard before. And this one is The 100 Years of Lenny and Margot by Mary Ann Cronin. It's being released as a paperback original. So I think it may also, depending on where you see it, it may be marketed as YA, because I think it could be read by a younger audience. And it's similar, you'll find a similar theme to Fault in Our Stars, because this one is about an unlikely friendship between a 17-year-old who has a terminal illness and an 83-year-old woman. And if you add their ages, it adds up to 100 years. So they discover that, and they meet in sort of an art therapy program in a hospital. And so what they decide to do is create 100 paintings together that tell the stories of their lives. And so this is, do pull out the Kleenex because it's going to have, it's going to have some sadness, but some just joy too. So that's going to be a great, just human interest story, I think. And then finally, I will talk about Songs in Ursa Major by Emma Brody. This is one that is being compared to Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid, who has a novel that I wanted to pick. Malibu Rising is also coming out in June. So put that on your list, but also just know songs in Ursa Major, because this is, I like, to talk about a book and an author that you may not see a lot of. So this one is set in the early 70s. The music scene, and it's about a girl whose mother wrote songs, so she was involved in the music scene, but this young girl is a singer, and she becomes famous, and she becomes involved with a man who's like a folk rock legend, and it's about their relationship, but it's about how she sort of establishes her own independence as an artist, even though she's sort of in his shadow and known as being connected to him, and she finds out some secrets about him. So it is, I think it's going to be great. And it's infused with, that whole lyrics from music and the whole music scene. And so it's going to be it's going to have that kind of retro 70s vibe that people loved about Daisy Jones and the Six too. So those are my recommendations for June.
Oh, awesome. Thank you, lady. And just tons more stuff that I want to read. I've got a hold on the Maidens. I love, the academia stuff. And then, of course, all the rest of these sound wonderful. So thank you for sharing. Our final, we always end with the Librarian Book Club pick for the month. And this is my screen's freezing, so I'll just start talking and maybe the slide will come up. This comes out June 1st. Lady also, this was her pick. So we always usually are excited about the same thing. So that's always fun. This is called The Other Black Girl by Zakiyah Delilah Harris. It is on so many radars. It's been named a most anticipated book of 2021 by Time, The Washington Post, Harper's Bazaar, Entertainment Weekly, Marie Claire, Bustle, BuzzFeed, Parade, Goodreads, Fortune, and BBC. So that gives you an idea. And I know it's already got, when I checked the other day, it's already got 12 holds. So I think a lot of people are going to want to read this. So the story is a young editorial assistant at a publisher called Wagner Books. She's African-American. Her name's Nella Rogers. She's tired of being the only Black person in the group. And, dealing with that isolation, microaggressions. So she's excited when another young woman who was born in Harlem, her name's Hazel, joins the group, and just to have someone, that she can relate to. So things seem to be going well. And then Hazel is suddenly, just so she's elevated to office darling. So I don't know if that's a promotion or what happens, but things start getting weird. And then Nella starts getting anonymous notes on her desk, things like that say, leave now. So, who's behind? Is it Hazel behind the messages? And why would she be doing this? There's a lot of other things that start happening. And so it just sounds very intriguing, very interesting. And I think a lot of people are going to want to read this. So we're excited. And again, June 1st. So we don't even have to wait at all.
And I may have signed copies. I never know if I get the signed copies until they arrive, but I'm hopeful. This is a huge book. So
that's exciting. Well, I'm going to have to check in with you and see if I can get one if you do. Well, either way, even if it's not signed, I'll still get it. So. Well, that concludes this month's Librarian Book Chat, and thank you both for joining me, talking about awesome books, and thanks to everyone who's watching. And these books will be available to check out from the library, and of course, to buy from Snail on the Wall. Check out Lady's website, and just support the library, support Lady, and we will see you again as we talk about July books. So everyone have a great month. Happy reading. Bye-bye.